Good evening, sim captains and crew. Welcome today to Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. And before us, we have the flight factor Boeing 767-300ER. Today, we're going to take a look at how to program our FMC to get us safely across these big oceans that connect the world. As we simulate a flight plan from Seattle to Charles de Gaulle in France. Okay, so the first thing, now that we're on board, we want to go ahead and get some power established. So we'll get our battery turned on here, our standby on as well. Go ahead and get our fuel pump that supplies fuel to our APU. We'll get this started. Wait for this to spool up down here. See, our main battery discharge lamp is illuminated here because we're drawing just on battery right now. And we have the run here. Let's get our APU generator on. And let's see if we can get our bus ties and our utility buses on here. There we go. And now we have our power. So now that our APU is running everything, we'll turn our lights up here a little bit. Get our floodlight on. Turn our panel up. We'll go back up to our overhead here. We'll flip all the way over to the heading. We have 7 minutes for our IRS to align. Of course, these switches will be in nav. So those are one of the first things you want to do. Now, the intent of this video is not to do a full pre-flight. It's really just to focus on the FMC. I'll do a quick flow here as though I would for a pre-flight, just to kind of get some things ready and kill a little bit of time here as we have 6 minutes. We'll turn on our yaw dampers. Our EECs are on. Our hydraulics on. Do a quick scroll here. Engine generators are off. That's fine. We have our position light is on. Our logo light is on. Heat. It's the emergency lights. We'll go ahead and arm those, imagining that passengers would be boarding here. We're only running the APU, so we only need the left forward on. And we do have 4,000 pounds, so hopefully as I run through this, it won't take terribly long, and we'll run the tank dry. Go ahead and get our window heats on to reduce any frost or freezing developing on the windscreens. I believe some airlines, they will leave the seatbelt sign off until fueling is complete. Once fueling is complete, then they'll turn the seatbelts on to notify any cabin crew that are guarding exits and doors that are being serviced by the ground crew. Then the flight attendants can resume their position once that light comes on and that they know the refueling operations have been complete. We have our pressurization set to auto. Our lights are as desired. We'll make the cabin a little more comfortable here. We do have our APU running, of course. That is our sole means of power right now. So we can start getting the flight deck comfortable here. Actually, let me move this over so you guys can see a little better. And there's our duct pressure running. So very cold out, as you can see, so we'll start getting that temperature up. We'll check on it a little bit later. I'm going to pretty much ignore all this instrumentation set here. This isn't a pre-flight. We're focusing on strictly the FMC. So if anything that you would set up on the mode control panel, we have a couple other videos on the channel with the Zevo 737. I have one actually in the Flight Factor 757. Feel free to take a look at those. In the future, there will probably be more flights where we'll go through some of that. Not so much as a tutorial, but more as an operational setup. But I'm not going to bother with the altimeter setting, pulling ATIS, etc. at this point, setting our radars up or any of that. The transponders. We're really just focusing on the FMC for this tutorial. So we have 4 minutes left. I'll go ahead and pause it as we get ready here. We'll come back and pick it up from there. With our GPS position, we're going to click that, line select it, and then we will set that here. And as you can see, now that we've done that, our instruments have all now come in. If we go back up, we can confirm that our IRS is now set up and aligned. So what do we need? Well, obviously we're going to need our flight plan. So I actually have it loaded into my Avatab here. Zoomed in too much here. So as you can see, we're Seattle to Charles de Gaulle. There's our tail number of, this is the actual airplane that flew it this day for Delta 34. Guess that information is not terribly significant. It actually is 189DN. So, okay, so this must be the tail number for this airplane. So we have all of our information here. If you're unfamiliar with this, may take some time to look. Perhaps we could do a how to decipher this. There may be some out there as well. But here's our information, and I'm going to just put this in the FMC, and we'll kind of briefly discuss it. My intent is for this to be a fairly quick tutorial for you to go through. If you need to come back and re-watch it, or feel free to hit the pause button as we go through it. If you need to navigate your own instrumentation or your own documentation. Okay, so I will, actually, you know what? I think I'll drag this over here. For some reason, I like typing on the right side. So we already have our initialization. We can look through there. Our FMC and our IRS, all three of them are showing. That's fine. IRSs, okay, so that is good. So our ident, we do have the 767-300ER. I do have the Pratt & Whitney's on this one. As I've loaded it, we've already initialized, so we'll go back. Now we'll do performance. So here we have not set the aircraft up, but I'll go by our sheet here. So our estimated takeoff weight for this flight is 391.873, so 391.9. Our, let's see, our reserves are 7.9. Actually, I probably need to go ahead and just do this, load this up. We'll do that while it's going on. So our block fuel is at 136 point, call it 3. All right, how many passengers do we have on board this one? Oh, okay, here we go. 205 passengers. And our cargo was 11. Okay. So we have 205 passengers, 11,000 pounds, and fuel is 136.3. Let's double check that fuel one final time. $136.2, so 136.3 is okay. So if we look on our first page of the sheet, our block fuel is 136.2 and some change, so we've added 136.3. That is correct. So we've just finished the refueling. As you can see, we have 136.3, which, and this is in pounds, not tons. So 136.3, that's what we wanted. Now our gross weight is way off, as we were discussing earlier. So we're going to go back over to our tablet and double check this one. So our gross weight is 392.7 with that weight on. So 392, we'll call it 0.8. And our zero fuel weight's 256.5 with that fuel on board. And we are 256.5, as we can see here in our pad. So that is good. And if we look up here, we are 256.7. So we're actually within 200 pounds on all this. So that is, I guess our takeoff weight and our gross weight's we're about 900 pounds off. So that is not bad at all. Go ahead and close this. Actually, we will, while we're here, I'll go ahead and close the doors. If you were looking when we started, our temperature was around 0 degrees in here. We're up to a nice toasty 21 now. So all of our passengers in back will be enjoying one another's company for about the next 11 hours or so. So we've completed our performance initialization data. Go to the takeoff page. I believe, I know normally in my 757 I do flaps 5. Okay, so this one also has flaps 5. So we'll do a flaps 5 here. We'll input that in. Slide back across here, sorry about that. Your actual thrust rating, you normally will do a D rate, and it's based on an assumed temperature or a flex temperature in Airbuses. So what you do is you take the actual temperature it is outside, which if we look right now, it's 5 degrees. The total air temperature, we're not moving, so the static air temperature and total air temperature are the same. So it's 5 degrees out. So you take the 5 degrees, you look at your pressure altitude based on the airport elevation, your temperature dew point. You go to a performance chart and it gives you a temperature, and that's what you enter right here on the FMC. That lets the engines make less power than they need to reduce wear and tear. We're not going to do that. We're going to keep it simple. So I'm going to use 5 degrees. We'll put that in, and it is saying it's derating, so we'll save a little bit. Our CG, we're going to get off our tablet over here. And again, all this is the same in the 757 and the 767. Actually, as you can see right there, it labels both. So our CG is 26% mean aerodynamic chord. Our trim is 4. Now we do have our hydraulics on. And if we look right down in here, we'll run this down to, actually I run it down to a little bit below it. I find when it's set right at the same trim as this says, it almost rotates on its own, and I like pulling a little bit of back pressure on that to achieve the liftoff through rotation. So now that we have our CG and our trim in, our takeoff trim is set, we will turn reference speeds on. So we get a V1 decision speed of 159, a rotate of 164, and a V2 best engine out climb speed of 170. So our satisfactory, so we'll select all of those. Next we'll head to the, actually we'll check page 2 here. Okay, our outside air temperature right now is 5 degrees. Let's see if it likes that. All right, 5 degrees. And our wind, I don't know what our wind is. We don't really need it, but if you have your wind data, if you listen to ATIS, you can pull it straight from there, punch this in, as well as the runway slope. If it has that, you can enter that in. Next, we will move to the pre-flight route. So now we're on our route page. Our origin, of course, will be Seattle. As you can see, it's already down here in the scratch pad. We'll select that. And I want to scroll back to page 1. So we are going to LFPG. I think we were Delta 30, oh, Delta 34. So Delta 34 for our flight number. Our runway, now on one of these pages, man, it moves sometimes and then it scrolls others. All right, so forget which page this one is on. Ah, here we go, our route ID. So we're taking off Seattle from 34 right. As you can see, on our horizontal situation indicator, HSI, it's now kind of populated some information for us. Okay, at this point, we will activate and we'll get the execute button. Now this just draws a line between the two. We'll have to actually go back to our actual route page in order to fill this in. So if we look at our route here, anywhere you see the DCTs are direct. So we actually, for one reason or another, do not have a standardized instrument departure, SID. We don't have one of those. It's saying direct normie, MATA, etc. And then we actually start hitting some of our lat and long waypoints. So again, if we go back to the find the main page here. You're at the index. So now we are at I think we're at nav data. Nope. Perfect. I have managed to lose us so far. All right. Oh, here we go. Route. Okay, so route. So direct 3-4 right. So then we are going to be normie, MODDA, cache S, EPH. Go to the next page. GEG. I forget which one that is. That might be Calgary. And now we arrive at our latitude and longitude points. Now those can be kind of tricky to enter into the FMC. There's a particular format that it's looking for. So since we are 50 north, 110 west, we're going to enter that in as 50 north. Let's see, and then actually, is that 50 north, and then 10 is 110. Now, if you're entering it in as a single, a 50 and a like 50 degrees and 40 degrees west, that would be 5040 north. These are kind of tricky, but because we are 110 west, we are going to be 50 north, and then we're going to drop the first digit, the 100 of the 110 west. And that is simply going to be 10, and then we're going to add that. Our next one is 55 north, 100 west. So that one will be 50 north, 00 west. Our next waypoint is 59 north, 90 west. Now this is where the format changes back again. So this one is going to be 50 north, and then 90, but we're going to put the north here because this number is less than 100. Did I put that right? I didn't put that right. Crap. Okay, so 55 north 00. Dang it. Delete this one. Delete this one. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. So 55 north 00. 59 north 90 090 west. 60 north 88 west. '63 north 88 west. You can see this is quite tedious for especially your oceanic crossings across the North Atlantic tracks and the Pacific tracks. So now we are direct BEPEG. Huh, that's interesting. BPEG is not in there, all right. Okay, we'll skip that one. TEFO. Ickman. That one's probably going to be our... Probably need to look at this one. So Ickman. Go down to our nav page here. Ickman is 6230. So it's going to be this one. And you can actually go down and use all of these. However, there are some waypoints on there that are not on the abbreviated this one here. So this is actually less to input. So Ickman Ketla, Ketla. Okay, that's 62 north, 050 west. And again, because that 050 is under 100, if that was 150, we would put the north here. And this is just a formatting peculiarity with these FMCs or the Boeing ones. I don't know how the Airbus is. I haven't tried that one yet. Then we'll go to the next one. That's 61 north, 40 west. 61 north, 40. (6030). (5820). And if you guys do a Pacific where you cross the date line where it goes from west to east, that format changes out there. You know, if you do like a west coast of the U.S. or, you know, Hawaii, Guam, something like that, over to, you know, Japan, Australia, Philippines, you know, that you really got to watch the formatting on these, because it'll change and it'll kind of bite you if you do it wrong, which makes the verification of this extremely important. So Sanat, Key 6, Kessex, Direct Nebog, SOSIM, and then UL, believe that is a air route, UL 15, so via UL 15 to keypad UL 151 to mid Y 803 SFD UM 605 BBAX and then the BBAX 8 Delta arrival. So this is our routing. I'm gonna close this. Now to verify this, we're actually gonna flip our, let's make you go away for the time being. We're gonna flip this over to plan mode. Adjust our range. We're gonna go to legs. We'll do our step. So we have 3.5 right. Our range is maximized here. This is 320 miles scale. So normie, and what we're doing, we want to make sure we're going in the correct direction. For this, we're actually going up through Canada. We're in Seattle, so we'll go up through Canada, up over the ocean here. Tefo, Ickman, Kedla. So now we're moving back. And then you can see it added. These are our airway routes. So if we zoom in. That one almost looked like an armpit there. Armpit. Added all these, and then we're going to end up at de Gaulle. So as we would near the end of that flight plan, we would enter our approach in, which we also have a video that may be coming up. It'll be on the channel on the Zibo 738 about installing an approach. So we've successfully loaded that, and just to double check, I've pulled this up here through SimBrief on our SkyVector. If we look right here, this is the actual route that we're flying. So we can actually compare this with what we have here. We have GEG, which is, where's it at? That's somewhere in here. And here's 5010. Actually, on SkyVector, it puts the format in that you need. Here's 55 North 00. 5990 North. And see, this is where it changes the format. 6088. So you see, this is our flight. This looks satisfactory, so we can execute it. So there we have successfully loaded a flight plan from Seattle all the way to Charles de Gaulle in a 757 or a 767. So we also addressed the Oceanic Crossings. So to clear up any confusion on the latitude and longitude input formats, you saw we used SkyVector to show you. I'll go ahead and I'll copy and paste it, put it in the comments section. So if you have any questions upon reading this, just go up there and I'll include the numbering format. It's easier to just see how it's labeled than what it is for me to explain it. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today on how to program the FMC in the Boeing 757 and Boeing 767. Again, this is the flight factor rendition. Before having X-Plane, I actually had a Captain Sim variant and flew it on Flight Sim 9, or Century of Flight, and the FMC modeling and most of the owners or user manuals between the two functions. So I think Captain Sim and Flight Factor have done a fantastic job, because I was able to fly one Boeing from the other's manual. So in that sense, I think they did well. And this whole time, as you can see, we are still running off our APU. APU gen is on, and we've used about 200 pounds of fuel during the course, or since APU start and our fueling process. So with that, I think we conclude our flight here. Our tutorial today. We'd have 4,621 miles to go, and we would land there with 13,400 on board. Thank you for joining us today on FBFT. We look forward to seeing you on board again soon. And as always, we'd like to remind you to plan the flight and fly the plan.